Good morning. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I can't, with us not being on video, I can't really tell, but I am going to see if I could show. I got the participants. I'm open up show chat previews because I want to be able to see if any of you guys do have any questions or anything like that. Stephanie and I, we didn't, this is going to be somewhat unscripted because, coming out of the month, and thank you guys. We all worked hard. We are, we're definitely gaining on them, gaining back our uh, our dominance as far as the volume and stuff goes. Programs and rates are coming down a little bit, so it's going to, increase our opportunities. From an underwriting aspect, things are kind of, when the rates go down, a little bit more flexibility does come with that, so to speak, but not just flexibility, a lot more direction comes. And we did get some formalized information from, a couple of the investors through the main agencies that we're dealing with. And we're going to touch on those things. I'm going to go over, mortgagee letter that we got from FHA, and it's pertaining to ADUs, which is something that we did discuss. We have, discussed periodically, but we've discussed it more from a conventional aspect. And now that we did get something from our, directly from FHA in regards to this, we want to, I just want to touch on it and see if, in fact, there's anything in there that I can, that we can expound upon, and might, touch some pressure points that'll help you guys as well, because ADUs, they're definitely not going anywhere, and it's something that's definitely a viable uh, thing for us to use. Now, I'm talking and clicking at the same time, but I'm not able to pull up my document again. But in the interim, oh, there it goes. It's loading. So, as far as from the FHA announcement, FHA has updated the definition to clarify an ADU, which is, as we know, is a single habitable living unit, which means has updated their definition to clarify ADU as a single habitable living unit, which means of separate ingress and egress. That's appraisal speak. That's just meets and bounds that meet the minimum requirements for a living unit. So the ADU is considered a private space that is, it has to be subordinate in size to the one unit single family dwelling. All right. Now, to summarize this, the rental income from the unit may be considered effective income for qualifying, but the documentation does vary depending on the length of time the borrower has owned the property. And this is where it's very similar to, but I do need you to take into consideration. This is the FHA version, so they're a little bit more exact. When a borrower does not limited or no rental income history, when the borrower does not have a history of rental income from the subject property since his previous tax filing, we would need the of course the appraisal, and we want the rent schedules to show the fair market rents from the appraisal as well as prospective leases. Okay, so keep in mind that anytime we have one with an ADU, we want to make sure that the appraisal contains the market rents. We used to call it 1007, or that was, that's a document name, but just keep in mind we do need to see the market rent data, and not just the data, but the market rents for similar properties with ADUs. Now, if they do have a history of it, where the borrower has a history of filing income taxes with rental income, we do need the Schedule E, 2 years returns, including Schedule E. For properties owned less than 2 years, you do need to document the date of acquisition by providing a copy of the deed, closing disclosure, or any other legal document. Now, that differs from our conventional loans. And like I was saying a minute ago, FHA is a little bit more exact. They're going to want you to prove what you say. Calculation of rental income. The net subject property rental income must be added to the borrower's gross income and cannot reduce the total mortgage payment by the net of the subject property rental income. We used the term back in the day called washing the rent. You can't wash the rent. You can't wash the rent up against the mortgage payment. You have to include it into the borrower's gross income when calculating that. Now, when there's limited or no history of rental income, the borrower does not have a history of receiving rental income from the subject property since the previous tax filing, The rental income is going to be based on 75% of the lesser of the fair market rent that's on the appraisal or the rent reflected on the lease agreement. So please inspect what you expect as it pertains to the rental income you're using. If in fact you need to go higher than the market rents, that's going to be hard to do. But if you give me a lease that's less than the market rent, then no, we won't divert to the market rent. We're going to go with the lesser of. Key factor, rental income from an ADU cannot exceed 30% of the total effective income used to qualify the borrower. So moving from into a property down in California, down in LA, where they can charge a lot more for rent, or the average rent is higher. Just keep in mind that that amount that they get from rent cannot exceed 30% of the total effective income. Where does that come into play? Really, when you have fixed income borrowers. So just keep your third eye on that calculation as to how much that ADU rental income is. All right. Moving along, history rental income, when the rent is calculated by using the Schedule E, it's a property.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Averaging the Okay, so the history of rental income is calculated by averaging Schedule E. If the property has been owned for less than 2 years, annualize the rental income for the length of time the property has been owned. And that's typically on a Schedule E. If it says it's 10 months, that they've only had it for 10 months out of the year, then that calculation is going to be annualized. It's not necessarily going to be prorated. Required reserves for the subject property with a one-unit ADU, regardless of the length of time the borrower has owned the property, they have to have at least 2 months reserves. That's not DTI relegated. That is ADU relegated. When you are using that, please make sure that you are providing at least 2 months of reserves. Cash out refinances. If the subject property is a one unit with the ADU, rental income from the ADU cannot be used to qualify for a cash out refinance. That is huge. It cannot be used to qualify for a cash out refinance. Now, as far as this part right here, when it goes to FHA connection and stuff, that's more internal when we're loading it into FHA connection to get your case number and CAVERS numbers and whatnot. This just goes to telling the details of that. So your operational partners will be, this is more towards what they do as opposed to you as our sales partners. So you don't need to focus on that as much. Rental income from other real estate owned with a one unit ADU, documentation of that rental income is the same as noted above. So, REOs and whatnot, none of that has changed. Calculation of rental income is the same as noted above, except the net rental income from the ADU that remains. It's not. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not limited. That's right. Thanks, Stephanie. Calculation of rental income is the same as noted above, except the net rental income of AU is not limited to 30% of the total effective income. So let's go back. Let's dig into that again. Rental income from other real estate owned. You need to document that the same as noted above, but it is not limited to 30% of the total effective income. So there's no real change in that. That's how it's always been, I believe. All right, now it gives where the complete guidelines and whatnot for that can be found. I do want to tap on real quick on the appraisal characteristics of property improvements with ADUs on existing and new construction. Again, the ADU must be subordinate in size, location, and appearance to the primary home and may or may not have separate meter utilities. That's not a prerequisite. ADU must comply with zoning requirements, which may include legal and non-conforming use. One of the best things to do to keep in mind with that is if in fact, your ADU is being, you do want it permitted. We haven't touched on permitted or no, but if it is permitted, then it would have to confirm with the legal and non-conforming use. I do know in LA County, it is acceptable to have the ADUs pretty much everywhere, but we do, whenever possible, you do want to make sure that you that we're seeking out the permits. One unit single family dwelling with an ADU, again, we're dealing with the appraisal characteristics now. When the highest and best use analysis determines the property to be single-family dwelling with an ADU, the appraiser must provide description of ADU characteristics, summarize the ADU's market acceptance, report the gross living area of the ADU separate from the primary dwelling, stating whether the ADU can be legally rented without restrictions, and report the current ADU occupancy and relevant details of any lease agreements. I will tell you, as an aside, your appraisers, they have this information as well. So while we're going to check from a compliance aspect, the appraisals, the appraisers, they do know these FHA requirements as well. All right. The appraiser may provide the ADU market rent only if the highest and best use is determined to be a one-unit single-family dwelling with an ADU. The ADU is legally rentable without restrictions, and the appraiser determines that a non-transient monthly market rent can be credibly, I got that, developed. Sorry about that. The analysis of rent data must include support for the ADU comparable rental selections, adjustments applied, and the opinion of the ADU market rents. So the appraiser must include ADU opinion of the market rent using the Fannie Mae Form 1007, as I had said before, or Freddie Mac Form 10,000. I'm sorry, 1,000, and include the following supplement statement. Again, not to bore you with all of that, because this is common knowledge that has been distributed to the appraisers and the AVMs and all the companies that we do. We get our appraisals through. Okay, all right. So we're going to be looking for this statement in all of them, that this form is completed to provide FHA opinion of the market rents of the subject's legally rentable ADU, accessory dwelling unit. Sufficient competitive market data exists to develop credible results. And that's just them, verifying or validating that they use the proper processes and calculations to come up with the rent and the analysis. A sufficient number of comparable rents must be included to produce a credible ADU market rent estimate, and that should go without saying. Comparables used to develop ADUs market rents must not include properties rented for hotel or transient purposes or for periods less than 30 days. Can't use your Airbnbs and those sorts of things for ADU comparables. At least one comparable sale must include that it is a single family dwelling with a rented ADU. If this is not available, the appraiser must supplement with the most appropriate rental available and summarize the reason for the selection and how the marketability of that ADU was determined. So, making sure, what we will be doing is from an underwriting aspect, we're going to go through, we're going to make sure that the appraiser states states the obvious, and it covers the bases that we just discussed here now. But I tell you, I mean, just opening this up to FHA, knowing that FHA's main goal is to provide housing for really underserved communities and whatnot. This does give us a bit more flexibility. And by them spelling out what their rules are, there's no more ambiguity, and it being really a case by case basis on ADUs. This tells us what we can do and how it can be done. And really and truly, nothing that we discuss, at least I don't feel, is anything different than how we understood them. It just, like I said, validifies that process. So, like I said, I was just going through the mortgagee letter that we did receive in terms of that. I'm going to make sure that all of you guys get it, and at least get a summary, so that when dealing with it, because it's always best to master whatever you can, and it really helps you. I know from experience in a sales capacity to know those things. But does anyone? Let me see. I think I have it open for questions. I do see a few chats up here. Okay. Joe, can you please have us send us this info that pertains to ADU? Absolutely, Oscar. That's something I'm going to do. And Stephanie had already answered that. So it's just so great having Stephanie here. If you guys don't know, it's amazing. She is really a wealth of knowledge and just all around good people. But anyway, I digress. If in fact you have any questions or anything as it pertains to ADUs, feel free to hit me up. And email Stephanie and I, and we'll do our best to answer it as thoroughly as possible, and then also giving you a point of reference. So, Stephanie, were you going to go through the worksheet? What we were trying to put together was our VA worksheet, maximum loan amount worksheet. And this is something else that we're going to get out to you guys. It's going to be a righteous tool in helping you guys to qualify, VA loans. Some of you guys have, a ton of experience in doing it, whereas this is more of a refresher than something that's going to really help you. But I will tell you that it's definitely beneficial. So with that, Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi everybody, good morning. I just wanted to kind of go over, we've had some questions and scenarios come through with how to calculate VA loan amounts, along with what people have used some of their entitlement, and are they able to use their entitlement again, or they may have a partial entitlement. So this form that is, we'll be sending this out to you, that you'll be able to just plug in the numbers. You're going to use your certificate of eligibility to determine, that's one thing you have to do, is pull that right away. And so you can see what type of entitlement that they do have. So the top part over here is for people here. So veterans with full entitlement, that means that they have not used their entitlement, or they have the full 36,000 available to them. You're going to follow the worksheet. So this is, the top part is for transactions with sales prices or loan amounts less than 144,000. I mean, I don't think we have any of those. I mean, because we're in a pretty much a high cost area, other than areas of San Bernardino, and that area, those are considered, they're not high cost, but where our loan amounts are always greater than 144,000 these days. So this is pretty much where you're going to put your information. So if your sales price is, say, for 400,000 in there, and based on that, my maximum loan amount, based on that, they're able to do a 0 down. Okay, if everybody can see that. Now, if you have a certificate of eligibility that has, they have used part of their eligibility. So let's take this out. So it kind of just works. So say I have 400,000 and they have used, one too many zeros. And say they have used, I don't know, so say they've used $20,000 of their entitlement. You have to go out to the web right here, and you have to click out what is the maximum loan limit for the subject property. So say it's right now, say it's 750,000 for the county for FHA. So for this transaction, the maximum remaining entitlement, this is still 0 down, that he's able to do another VA loan with no down payment. Now, say if this was, say he's used 75,000 of it. I mean, our sales price is kind of high to kind of do that. I was trying to see if, to show you that it would have, let's see, so say 500,000. So in this scenario here, my sales price is 300,000. They've used 75,000 of their previous entitlement. For the area, for the county, it's 500,000 is the max for the loan limit for FHA. Remaining entitlement, he has 50,000. So the maximum loan amount he can get would be 275, requiring him to bring a down payment of 25,000. So it's really important to look at your certificate of eligibility, to pull it up as soon as possible, so you could actually see it and determine, let's see here, what kind of loan amount you're looking at. And so if you guys any questions on it, I think this is a really handy tool when you're out in the field up front, so you can kind of see if the borrower has any kind of entitlement left over, depending in that area, if he has to require a down payment. Does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, so this is another thing, we'll go ahead and send this out to you as well, is that FHA mortgagee letter for you as well.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, just a second, guys. Jesus. Share screen, don't want to do that. Okay, there we go. Hello. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, fantastic. Okay, guys, so that's two things that, again, we're not going to keep you real long today, but those are two things that we're going to get to you guys to follow up on to make sure that we keep you guys informed. But in the meantime, if there's any topics or any things that you would like for us to discuss, elaborate on, or anything like that, please, please, please let me know. Let Stephanie know. Send those questions to the scenario desk, because as we can continue to strengthen ourselves and be on top of all the different changes and opportunities, then we continue to win. If anyone has, open it up one more time. If any of you have, oh, okay. Oscar said, not sure if you're going to cover residual income. You have a worksheet for that as well. I do have a residual income worksheet, and we'll send that out as well. And those worksheets are very, self-explanatory, which is great. But we will get those out to you. I'll make sure that we get mortgagee letter summaries, not just from FHA, but also as we get them from Fannie and Freddie as well. I'm going to start making sure that we send out any summaries, especially as it pertains to the types of loans that we see, or to give you guys, an avenue for any other loans. Before I close that, I do want to again encourage you guys to focus on some of these condo developments, because it is definitely a market that we can definitely capitalize on. Whether they're conventional or FHA condos, we can get them approved, and or we can definitely facilitate getting those things closed pretty quickly. So by all means, guys, utilize the experience and the knowledge you have at your disposal, and as you well know, I'm always here, as is Stephanie. If you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. Before I go, anybody have any questions, concerns, ideas? All right. Well, hopefully you guys enjoy your day. We're going to give you back some more time, and and when we come in next month, we'll send out an agenda a little bit ahead of time, but it'll be the same date, every month, the first the first Wednesday of every month, I believe. First Tuesday of every month. I got my days mixed up. Sorry. First Tuesday of every month, we'll be here in front and center to address any opportunities we can from the underwriting aspect. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.